Continue our breaking news here on SportsCenter. Doc Rivers has been fired after 7 seasons with the Los Angeles Clippers, and the undefeated Mark Spears reporting that the 76ers and the Pelicans have already reached out to Doc Rivers and are interested in the head coach. Now here's Doc Rivers after that Game 7 after losing to the Nuggets.
Did the expectations, were they ever too heavy for this team?
No, we didn't meet them. That's the bottom line. I'm the coach, and I'll take any blame for it. But we didn't meet our expectations, clearly. Because we had, in my opinion, we'd still be playing.
All right, we're going now to the Orlando bubble where Malika Andrews joins us. Now, you have been in the bubble. You saw that Game 7 loss, the Clippers to the Nuggets. So what was the feeling among Doc Rivers and the Clippers after being sent home?
Well, you just heard what he said, Ashley. They did not live up to the expectations that a lot of people had and that they had for themselves when coming into Orlando. They wanted to win a championship. That was a very achievable goal that they had in mind for themselves. And so Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, guy after guy just said they were disappointed, but they continued to say, but we have another year. We're going to learn from this. We're just going to get better. But clearly, Doc Rivers is not going to have that opportunity. But he said, that was not the only time that he said that he felt that any shortcomings should be placed on his shoulders. He said squarely that that's the way that it should be. But I would be remiss not to remind folks that Doc Rivers, while he was in the bubble, was also a fierce warrior for social justice, for racial equality. He brought that up in nearly every press conference. He said that it's something that he wanted to continue to do once he left, even though that platform would shrink just a little bit, or at the very least changed. He continued to push for voting and voting rights, but they fell a little bit short in the bubble, and so it was just disappointment when they left.
All right, thanks so much, Malika. Hang tight for more on the NBA Finals.
Doc Rivers.
Let's go to Stephen A. Smith. Stephen, what do you make of this news? Doc Rivers out with the Clippers after 7 seasons in Los Angeles.
Well, it's incredibly unfortunate, first of all. You understand to some degree why he's gone, because when you've been coaching a team for 7 years and you haven't been to a conference finals, that's problematic. We understand that. But in this particular instance, when you consider the fact that he's one of the elite coaches in the game, when you consider the fact that they were coaching in a bubble, you had a team, you were coaching a team that basically voted not to be there, which means they didn't want to participate. You had guys like Montrezl Harrell missing about 33 days, Patrick Beverley missing about 18 days, numerous other players missing a slew of days because they were either injured or there were other things that were going on that prevented them from performing. You really didn't have a chance. And then when you consider what transpired in Games 6 and 7, when in terms of high percentage shots and things of that nature, they were getting them and guys were just missing. Then you have a leader in Kawhi Leonard, the superstar that you acquired in the offseason, along with Paul George, 2 individuals that probably would not have come there had it not been for Doc Rivers being the head coach of the franchise, and they don't show up in the Game 7. Then it's one of those situations, particularly when you're looking at Kawhi, who is as indifferent as they come in terms of his personality. He's going to work hard. He's going to go on the court. He's going to perform. He's never going to cheat you with effort. But in the end, can you be that leader that galvanizes troops? That was never Kawhi Leonard's MO. So all of those things being stacked against Doc Rivers, what I'm saying is that if he's going to lose his job, you know what, it would have been far more understandable had there never been an interrupted season and he lost under those conditions. But considering the fact that the season was interrupted and then you had guys, the Clippers and the Lakers were the only 2 teams that voted not to participate in the bubble and not to play, then they came back and played. And unlike the Lakers, you had guys missing games all over the place. For him to lose his job under those conditions are incredibly unfortunate for a coach of his stature. I don't like it at all.
And as you mentioned, this is a team with a couple of big superstars, a lot of good players that come off the bench, a team that I think a lot of coaches would love to coach. So who do you expect the Clippers to now pursue to take over for Doc Rivers?
I have no idea whatsoever because I had no idea. I mean, I suspected that Doc Rivers would probably lose his job because you heard the whispers and what have you. And you imagine all the guys that'll be out there clamoring for this opportunity. And I haven't spoken to Steve Ballmer about this, the billionaire owner for the Los Angeles Clippers, as of yet, nor anybody within the Clippers organization, because this just came down. And obviously I wasn't working until I just heard the news. But in the end, I will tell you that any coach out there would want this job. because Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, regardless of how they didn't show up in Game 7, the bottom line is they're stars in this league. And if you consider the plethora of other players that they have on this roster, you might be in need of a quintessential point guard, a literal floor general who can distribute the basketball and stuff like that. But outside of that, all the pieces are there. If they're highly motivated and focused and they want to play, they can beat anybody. Even though it didn't happen, they could still come back. My proposition was that they all come back this season, next season rather. Come back and show what you got and give it to them. And that's what you should do, because they'll be more motivated than ever before. But that didn't happen, and now Doc Rivers is going to be on the open market. And teams, for example, like the Philadelphia 76ers, I don't know whether they're going to call him or not. I know this much. They damn well had better call him, because as recently as 48 hours ago, it was about Mike D'Antoni, the former coach of the Rockets and the Lakers and the Knicks and the Phoenix Suns. Okay, that guy was a leading candidate for a job. And, of course, Ty Lue. Unless you're going to get Ty Lue or whatever, I don't see how you're the Philadelphia 76ers and you can think about Mike D'Antoni over a Doc Rivers. That better not happen. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, exactly. Going off of that, there's a handful of teams that are looking for a head coach. Where do you think the best fit for Doc Rivers to go to a place could be?
Philly.
Philly. That's the team.
You know, you see a lot of teams still looking for a coach, but definitely Philly. You got a star in Joel Embiid who should have his behind down in the post doing damage, and he should be the second best player definitively on a night in, night out basis, rivaling the Greek Freak. You got a guy in Ben Simmons that Doc Rivers would know how to utilize, because he can't shoot. Maybe he'll eventually get some kind of a shot, but he has every single thing else in his arsenal to be a prolific perennial all-star for years to come. It would have been nice if they still had Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick, but guess what? You don't. But you have Tobias Harris, and you have a few other pieces that you could do something with the right coaching, the right motivation, a new fresh start, a new voice. The bottom line is, guess what? You can legitimately, almost instantly compete for Eastern Conference crown. That's what this will come down to as far as I'm concerned. If I was speaking to Doc Rivers, and I haven't spoken to him yet, but I damn well intend to, my thoughts to him would be, go for the Philly job. The Philadelphia 76ers, if you're listening, because as you know, I worked in Philadelphia for 17 years. I know these people. The Philadelphia 76ers, because I know you listening. It damn well better not be Mike D'Antoni ahead of Doc Rivers. Let Mike D'Antoni go to Indiana and coach the Pacers. It better be Doc Rivers over Mike D'Antoni. I can tell you that much. They should be calling Doc Rivers now.
All right. Stephen A. Smith saying Doc goes to Philly. Doc Rivers out with the Clippers after 7 seasons.
Beyond the Western Conference semifinals, including this year when Rivers and the superstar pairing of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George blew that 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. He put out this statement earlier today. When I took this job, my goals were to make this a winning basketball program, a free agent destination, and bring a championship to this organization. While I was able to accomplish most of my goals, I won't be able to see them all through. He went on to say, though it was a disappointing ending to our season, you are right there, and I know what this team is capable of accomplishing with your support. Again, the stunning news here first broke by Adrian Wojnarowski, and he joins us now. Adrian, why did the Clippers decide to make this decision?
Ryan, Steve Ballmer, the owner of the Clippers, had tremendous expectations, as did I think Doc Rivers and many around the NBA who considered the Clippers a championship favorite. And the way that they went out this year, losing in the conference semifinals, blowing a 3-1 lead to Denver, ultimately changes are going to come to this Clippers organization. They started with Doc Rivers today, and this is a difficult search for the Clippers. This is a championship or bust organization right now, and I think the next coach isn't so clear as to who that might be. There's certainly some candidates, but Doc Rivers ultimately paid the price for a team that talent-wise was among the very elite in the league, but clearly underachieved on the court and in the bubble.
Well, as we mentioned, he really rebuilt the culture there, but again, came up short in the playoffs. So who will the Clippers look to now, do you think, to replace Doc Rivers and take over this team that's built to win a championship?
Again, Ryan, I think it's a challenging search. I don't think there's an obvious choice out there for them. And, Ty Lue on their own staff listen, this is a championship coach in his own right. In Cleveland, came in this year very close to Doc Rivers, and by all estimations, made a great impression there. He is a candidate in some other places, including Philadelphia, New Orleans. Our Jeff Van Gundy at ESPN is considered one of the best minds out there, and one of the most accomplished coaches. But listen, I think they're going to have to take a step back here with the Clippers. I don't think the next coach is clear to them. I think there's a search process that will start here. But this is going to be, for them, a real challenge. They have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, who both could become free agents if they wanted again next year. And so this is a team that I think will continue to likely tinker with their roster and try to find the right formula to be able to challenge the Lakers in the West and get out of the West and win a title.
Difficult situation, not only manage this team, but manage the expectations, which are sky high. So, as you mentioned, there's a number of jobs out there, a number of places looking for head coaches. Doc Rivers would be at the top of many teams' list. So where does he look to fit, and how does he fit into some of those possible head coaching vacancies?
Yeah, I think Doc Rivers is probably going to take a step back and take a look around and see if he wants to get right back in, and do any of these jobs appeal to him. I think for Doc Rivers, he could continue to be very particular about where he might want to go next if he wants to continue coaching. But certainly he's considered one of the elite coaches in the league. Whether or not, even some of the jobs that are open now fit financially would fit for him, if the rosters would fit, if the cities and the geography would fit. And I think those are all the things he'd have to evaluate. But I don't know that there's just a no-brainer, hey, I got to have that job out there right now that's open for Doc Rivers. He is from Chicago. He grew up a Bulls fan, but obviously the Chicago Bulls job was filled with Billy Donovan last week.
All right, so a number of teams will be looking to see Doc Rivers' next move. And again, this move, a real stunner. Adrian Wojnarowski, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Well, it's all about what you get done in the postseason, right? When it comes to the NBA, and the Clippers just could not take that next step into the NBA Finals in Rivers' 7 seasons. The Clippers blew a 3-1 lead series this season to the Denver Nuggets, and they also did it in 2015.